I apologize with my usual audience if now I'm streaming in English language. Mi vogliano scusare i miei abituali ascoltatori se provo disperatamente, uno esperimento stupido e fallimentare fin dall'inizio, a parlare in inglese. As the title of this post should signify to anyone who would research on YouTube or on Google about last Halloween album or about last Iron Maiden album. This is I decide to speak in English just because we are commenting English lyrics and English speaking music, despite Halloween are from Germany. Iron Maiden are the most famous British heavy metal band, ciao ML, along with Judas Priest possibly. This is merely an attempt, a frustrating attempt, because I know that such releases as the album Helloween by heavy metal band Helloween and the album Senjutsu by the heavy metal band Iron Maiden has been released in the same year, this current year, this year of resilience from the pandemic, from the COVID. Well, what I mean to signify, and I am an heavy metal kid, but I never reviewed professionally, despite I'm a professional, so I dare to submit to the anglophonic world my reactions to such a monumental release. What is mostly important for people like me who grew in the prime of the heavy metal music, the 80s, the late 70s, and more up the iron, Mirko. And most significantly by the early 80s, with the new wave of British heavy metal and all the explosion of the same genre with the many subgenre which flourished in the context of the decade of the 80s, both in UK, in America, and in many other nations, just because year after year we started appreciating, and we learned appreciating even other scenes. You know how the Scandinavian scene, the inner circle, the extreme black death metal, or the Brazilian scene, conceding acts, monumental and glorious acts like Angra, Sepultura, and many more. The Scandinavian scene, I forgot to mention the power metal masterpieces of Stratovarius, but I couldn't mention the most important heavy metal band. And this post is only preliminary. If anglophonic audiences will appreciate or will at least notice, I think that I would like to start speaking about my things and my favorite albums. And I think that many people in the world rejoiced for this double release. For many people, Iron Maiden and Helloween represent some most important heavy metal acts, but this is not true, because there are many important American acts and many other bands all around the world. So, academically talking, seriously talking, it's somewhat unfair to acknowledge Helloween and Iron Maiden as the greatest heavy metal bands ever. More correctly, I can only say that these are my all-time favorite bands. And you know how these bands went through several lineup changes, several up and downs in their discography. Just because they are so famous and greatly appreciated, they also undergo many critics. You know, what are the lower points of Iron Maiden discography or Helloween discography? For example, relying on the common places we go through in the heavy metal reviews. Generally talking, we refer to the No Prayer for the Dying album, the X Factor album, or Virtual Eleven album as the lower moments. But I noticed that several reviews are often disagreeing. Even the album from 2006 by Iron Maiden, A Matter of Life and Death, has been widely panned, why to me is an extraordinary album. The following album, The Final Frontier from 2010, has been greatly criticized, while to me it was a very well album, while instead the widely acclaimed double album, The Book of Soul from 2015, has been acclaimed. Nevertheless, I want to ask to the fan of Iron Maiden if, in fact, the release of Senjutsu overshadowed the Book of Souls. The Book of Souls was a great album until Senjutsu was released. I think that Senjutsu made major damages on on the perception and the legacy of Book of Souls. Book of Souls was a great album, but was completely overshadowed by Senjutsu. Yep. Why? This is my enthusiasm reviewing. Both Helloween and Iron Maiden came back in an incredible way. It has been an unspeakable emotion. You know, the album, eponymous album, they decided significantly to title the album with the name of the band, Helloween, just like the Beatles did with the White Album, the Iron Maiden made with their own first album. Some philologists could object that effectively the first EP released by Helloween was titled Helloween as well. Nevertheless, in 2021 we have the longly awaited, what I say, even more, the longly dreamed reunion. The longly dreamed reunion, sorry Magico Centro se parlo in inglese, scusami, è che intendevo arrivare con delle osservazioni a gente che parla in inglese, ma come vedi è un tentativo, and I'm also specifying this is only an attempt because it was a sort of intention to release properly both albums. I start by stating how this year has been a blast, an orgasm for old-time heavy metal kids. Cazzo, sei un grande Magico Centro, sei un grande, tedesco, francese e spagnolo, li so. Sono germanista, tanto di cappello, ich kenne Deutsch, ein bisschen. But I'm not so sure to speak German. So, I hope you agree with me. Right, I'm going to translate the intervention by Daniele Scribonia, who I met only a few days ago at Penny Market. Sorry, no, it vanished. Ecco, Daniele Scribonia writes, they threw me away from the venue in Milan, the Alcatraz Auditorium, to have sung the Ave Maria by Schubert, Regina Celi, na 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 na, Madre Pia, oh, Ma the light, and there he was on the line to attend the show of Cannibal Corpse, so he was delivering the Schubert Ave Maria while he was in line attending Corpse and had the kids enraged. I don't understand. It was a delightful provocation, and the Ave Maria by Schubert was the perfect song to wait for the concert of the Cannibal Corpse. So, I hope that you all agree with me when I say that 2021 has been an incredible year for heavy kids of the classic generation. And sorry if we are stupidly commercially pointed on the major acts, Helloween and Iron Maiden, and younger metal kids like to disregard such dinosaurs. Nevertheless, you know, we are old. I'm about to be 50. So we grew old. We grew with them. We grew with these acts, with Iron Maiden, since the first album. So I hope you all agree that both albums have been reviving. And I was never so overwhelmed by emotions by an heavy metal album since several times, because somewhat we outgrew the metal fever. I'm older, I'm not the proper metal kid with tattoos, and so I went through, and so I kept on appreciating, but I'm not living as a metal kid. Nevertheless, both these albums revived our feelings. I bet that, and I know, counter-checked this from the many comments and the many reviews which have been released all around the world, commenting Senjutsu by Iron Maiden, has been incredible. Substantially, complexively, we can talk about a universal acclaim. Of course, there have been many critics. Let's see. Mirko Mazzanti is commenting. In Italian, I'm translating for you. He says, Senjutsu is a good album, so without much the delirant enthusiasm, which to me is a masterpiece, one of the best albums by Iron Maiden. He says, Senjutsu is a good album as well. Fabio, I don't need your money, you're so kind. You're so kind, I should pay you in turn. Dovrei dare io i soldi a Fabio. Ti dirò anche, e dice Mirko Mazzanti adds that recently he also re-evaluated, appreciating the Final Frontier from 2010, which at the moment of the release also upset him. I was wrong. So Mirko Mazzanti is somewhat no, reappreciating the Final Frontier. No, but Mirko, I had the same reaction. Even to me, what was mostly disappointing from the release, the Final Frontier, was the opener. The opener, which is, remind me the title, sorry, what a shame on me. I'm reviewing Iron Maiden, I know everything about Iron Maiden, and now I forget what was the opener, which I disliked. The Different World, no, Different World is from A Matter of Life and Death. Ah, is the Final Frontier, the Final Frontier with that electric intro and poi The Final Frontier, I'm not in a now, na na in a now, na na in a na na, and I didn't appreciate that. We are all used to the hyper speedy opener like Future Real Invaders, SSI, so we wait for that. But in Senjutsu, instead, they also selected a slow opening, which, in my humble opinion, was a great opener, the Senjutsu, the title track. And say Fabio Fartini, when you are in live, I stay like a spider. I love you, lovely Spider-Man. Love you, like a spider. Lovely. So, what's the matter? Possibly this is not the effective review which I should release after having prepared and commented. Nevertheless, let's try to attempt. Helloween by Helloween is an incredible album. Nevertheless, there are some fillers. I should have here the track list because I don't remember all the titles of the song. Nevertheless, I know very well the album. The opener is incredible. Out for the Glory, authored by Michael Veikat. Michael Veikat is my all-time favorite composer in Helloween because he used those fifth rapports, pentatonics. There is a recurring harmonic sequence in Veikat songwriting. I would say that Veikat is also mostly repetitive, just like Steve Harris. There is a composition trademark, songwriting trademark, which identifies and characterizes Steve Harris compositions and the Michael Veikat composition. They are immediately recognizable and they contributed mostly to the identity, to the musical identity of respectively Helloween and Iron Maiden, or better, Iron Maiden and Helloween. So, Out for the Glory, delightful opener authored by Michael Veikat, and finally you hear, this was a dream. I spent 20 years dreaming that Michael Kiske would rejoin Helloween. This is what Out. Dear Ettore, thanks for your suggestion. I tell you that this will happen. I started thinking that my works on The Monster of Florence, i miei film sul mostro di Firenze, dovrebbero avere dei sottotitoli in inglese, o con la Francesca stiamo cercando di parlarci sopra, però poi vanno via le musiche. Insomma, di parlarci sopra in inglese o mettere dei sottotitoli? Sì, perché sapete che l'italiano va incontro a un millesimo dell'audience planetaria nel web. Quindi se un giorno te ti metti a fare in inglese, forse chi è interessato al mostro di Firenze rischio di avere 10 volte tanto. Infatti I will try. I apologize for my horrible English, for my awful accent and thick accent, but I think that I can try in producing some material in English like I do for my work I teach for University of North Carolina. So I will, Ettore, I hopefully will. Nevertheless, Helloween by Helloween, opener Out of the Glory, with the lead vocal is entrusted to Michael Kiske, a blast, an orgasm, it's never happened before. Finally, Kiske joined back. Kiske joined back, the greatest crystal voice in heavy metal, the voice who made us dream. Michael Kiske is a drug, is an amphetaminic experience. It elevate yourself, Eagle Fly Free, Future World, I Want Out, incredible songs. Finally, Kiske is back, and he opened the album with Out for the Glory, a pure wake-up tune. I appreciated it greatly. I would compare it to Eagle 5. Nevertheless, time has passed, and they are merely working their homework excellently, and so they manage to provide me with emotions. Then the album follows with the possibly one of the greatest songs of the entire album, which is "Fear of the Fallen," penned by Andy Daris, my idol, because Andy Daris, despite not having the voice of Kiske, managed to substitute him exceptionally. He upgraded Helloween. Nobody could think. He's just like Blaze Bailey, who would have made Iron Maiden greater than before. Impossible. Imagine just Varys selected an incredible singer. I love Blaze, but there is succeeded in a much more impossible task, cioè impossible task to substitute Bruce Dickinson and to substitute Michael Kiske. Impossible. Andy Daris and Blaze Bailey have been two different choices, completely disappointing at the first time because they completely denied the vocal approach of their predecessors. I love Blaze Bailey. In my humble opinion, he greatly succeeded in changing the vocal approach of Iron Maiden, in providing two unforgettable albums like The X Factor and Virtual Eleven. While Andy Daris completely did another thing. He upgraded Helloween. He brought Helloween even higher. He has a great voice, a great composer, and a great frontman. Michael Kiske is not a frontman like Andy Daris. Andy Daris is an incredible man, one of the greatest and most beautiful persons in the world. I tell you, I met him personally. One of the sweetest, lovely men in the universe. And also, and this is the reason, because after I met him, I'm only taken away by emotion each time I hear his songs. Fear of the Fallen is a masterpiece. It's a Halloween classic forever since the beginning. Fear of the Fallen is one of the greatest songs of the year, which perfectly mix the two lead vocals. Finally, we have a pure duet, an enthusiastic. Sorry, I don't know English. I don't have the words. I don't have the words enough to explain the blast, the explosion of Fear of the Fallen. A texture, a sublime texture of the two great voices of Daris and Kiske. Here come the fear of the fallen, night that you water, you go sleep by, you got in the fire, the voice in the choir, we're always live by. Da piangere, it made me cry, is incredible. Now, I would be expected to list the following songs, which I don't remember. Down in the Dumps is beautiful, another one is beautiful, blah blah, and I don't remember them. They are exceptional, they are delightful, beautiful songs, great, beautiful songs, heroes, and so more. But I love Cyanide by Andy Daris. Cyanide! And there are many more. I'm forgetting several more. This is not a serious review, but let's skip immediately to the other masterpiece. Great opener. Second song, masterpiece, Fear of the Fallen. Ending of the album, Skyfall, penned by Kai Hansen, sharing three lead vocals between Kiske, Daris, Hansen. I fell from the sky, so don't ask me why. I'm feeling so down, na down, 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 down. The masterpiece, three masterpieces which are worth the entire album. The entire album is beautiful, and now I'm culpably forgetting the other great songs which make the album. But I meant in this moment, in this post, I meant to signify Out for the Glory, Fear of the Fallen, and Skyfall, an incredible masterpiece like the old one, 13 minutes lasting masterpieces, The Keeper, Helloween, The King of the Thousand Years, and now we have Skyfall, a masterpiece. Again, the voice of Michael Kiske thrills us, comes providing excitation, asthmatic excitation, fascinating. And I didn't talk much about Senjutsu. In my humble opinion, why I master it far better, despite I'm in love completely with Helloween, but Senjutsu blew me away. I loved Helloween, and when Senjutsu, I love Helloween by Helloween, it made my summer, it was the greatest release of the summer. Then, surprise, after the July release of the single Writing on the Wall, when in September Senjutsu was released. I remember it was 3 September, like in 95, 5 September, X Factor was released more than 20 years ago. While this year, 2021, it was a gift from God. God extended our life, conceding 2 proper albums. One Helloween proper album, one Iron Maiden proper album. It was a blast. I think we will never witness years like this unless Helloween Iron Maiden will release a new album in 3 years, 2025, new album by Helloween, new album by Iron Maiden, but hopefully, if they resist, if they stay together, if they live on as I wish. Senjutsu, tracklist by Senjutsu, the opening is haunting. How would you describe Senjutsu? Is a typical Iron Maiden? No, isn't. But it is pretty typical Iron Maiden in the lyrics, which recalls invaders or those medieval settings, typically. Lyrics by Harris, typical of Iron Maiden. Music by Adrian Smith, which is somewhat going outside the ordinary borders, and they did it several times. They anticipated how they somewhat went out of the ordinary borders of Iron Maiden musical style. And so we start with Senjutsu, but they also grew old. So to me, it is perfectly Iron Maiden, seasoned perfectly Iron Maiden. This album is incredible. The album Senjutsu is incredible. It's surely among the best Iron Maiden album and the best heavy metal album. So we have the single Stratego, which by Jers Harris, in my humble opinion, is good, but it didn't enthusiastic me so much. I better appreciated Writing on the Wall. I keep on apologizing for my terrible English. Sorry, guys. And I most appreciated the Writing on the Wall single, which is a Dickinson Smith song. This series of 3 is the official introduction to the album, and it managed to provide some bold, heavy rocks already building the big Senjutsu. Then there are no fillers. Maybe the weakest song is Time Machine by the Time Machine, but the more you hear to this song, the more you appreciate it. We have these strange, unprecedented occurrences like quartz in the beginning of Lost in a Lost World and other solutions which seems to be different from Iron Maiden, while Iron Maiden themselves manage to present an original style which started in the last albums, and they developed it and they codified it properly. We have incredible surprises in another composition by Adrian Smith, which is The Darkest Hour. You go crazy. The powerful song, again, like Iron Maiden are used to, they make a nationalistic great song. Is Shivers. The Darkest Hour shivers as an incredibly intense song. Is incredible. Even more, the previous shorter song, which could be perfect as a third single, again a composition by Smith Dickinson, Smith Dickinson, which is Days of Future Past, which is a proper classic Iron Maiden song, another gift from the gods, greatly appreciated. Did I forget something? We have Senjutsu, Stratego, Writing on the Wall, beautiful. Then we have Lost in a Lost World, long Harris composition, appreciable with some exciting moments. And then we go on, sorry if I don't follow the order, we have Days of Future Past, The Darkest Hour, and if I didn't forget anything else, we said The Time Machine, we mentioned The Time Machine, and we approach the conclude, perché we can't call it the end of the album, because the second half of the album, the last 32 minutes of the album, are entirely dedicated to Steve Harris compositions. And, we are used to a long song closing an Iron Maiden album, mostly 9 out of 10 composed by Steve Harris, with exceptions. For example, in the last album, Book of Souls, the long ending was penned by Bruce Dickinson, Empire of the Clouds, while, for example, we had an exception, while the Unbeliever ending the X Factor, if I remember correctly, is penned by Gers, and while commonly, typically, an Iron Maiden album is ended by a prolonged 8 minutes, somewhat 8 minutes, with the only exception, Only the Good Die Young, being a short ending for an album, but this was a concept album. And so we are used to the major long endings of the album. Should I quote them? Since Halloween Be Thy Name, since The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Alexander the Great, Fear of the Dark, Mother Russia, The Unbeliever, and so on. When the Wild Wind Blows, The Thin Line Between Love and Hate, and many more. And many more, sorry for my English. Now we have a tripod. This is, no, it make you think that possibly is a real goodbye, capito? The three long songs, cioè the three masterpieces, and we have an escalation. They placed them correctly. They were pretty conscious of the respective power of each song. They decided consciously to put Death of the Celts, The Parchment, and this review will be followed by another more specific review. This review doesn't need that I even mention the greatest song ever released by Iron Maiden. La sorpresa è invece vedere la bellissima Beatrice. È un po' che non ti vedevo, grazie cara, ma non ascoltarlo, figura di merda. This review doesn't even need that I mention the greatest. Forget Halloween Be the Name. Yes, be enraged, be offended by what I'm saying. Forget Halloween Be the Name. Yep, greatest song ever. Forget The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Yep, the greatest song ever. This review doesn't need that I mention and I name the closing song of Senjutsu. The greatest song by Iron Maiden, the greatest song by... It made me cry each time, and I'm so happy that I read commentaries like them. People despising or diminishing these two albums doesn't matter. These people doesn't matter. These people doesn't count a fuck. Halloween is a great album. Senjutsu is a masterpiece. Senjutsu is a pure masterpiece. The last song of the album is worth the entire Iron Maiden discography. Is the purest Iron Maiden music ever. Yep, okay, I try not to... Okay, I will mention the song in the next review. Guys, we are so happy and proud. What a great song. A song which is worth the entire album. The album has been great already, and with the addition of that song, You remember, it starts with a long, sweet guitar intro, like many Iron Maiden songs, and suddenly it starts around 2 minutes or more. Spam! It was a whip to me when they start the music. Those harmonies, those harmonic sequences, those vocals, Bruce Dickinson. Wow, wow, wow. Love in anger, life in danger. I shouldn't sing, I'm not Bruce. Did you hear? Did you hear the pathos? Did you hear what an incredible song? How these guys, 60-year-old, managed to give us generally such a song, such a song. What was the title? Hell on Earth.